Our world has seen some pretty evil people over the years. While most of them receive punishment for their crimes, these terrible figures managed to escape the law for good. First on our list is the clan of Genghis Khan. When it comes to widespread destruction, Genghis Khan is one of the few names that really stands tall above the rest. While he was undoubtedly one of the most powerful leaders in history, his widespread invasions resulted in horrible genocides. Genghis Khan and his clan of loyal soldiers invaded many settlements during his reign over the Mongol Empire. One of the most notable demographic changes in history was a direct result of the Mongolian invasion of the Persian Empire. Historians estimate the population of Persia dropped from 2.5 million to 250,000 as a result of Genghis Khan's attacks. This also led to the destruction of important cultural and historical artifacts as well as religious properties. Historians have also estimated that Genghis Khan was involved with thousands of women and fathered hundreds of children. Of course, the ruthless leader was never charged for any of his terrible crimes, but he did eventually pass away after contracting the bubonic plague. Can you think of any evil historical figures who escaped punishment? Let us know in the comments down below. Next on our list is Pol Pot. His birth name might be Salah Tsar, but the world knows Pol Pot as one of the most ruthless dictators of all time. Pol Pot initially discovered his love for communism while he was studying radio electronics in Paris. He eventually gave up on his studies and spent most of his time meeting with the French Communist Party. He eventually lost his scholarship after failing his exams and was sent back to Cambodia, where he began his rise to power. He spent 12 years building up the Communist Party of Cambodia and eventually overthrew the government in 1975. Now, it is estimated that Pot was directly responsible for the passing of more than 1 million people due to his barbaric policies. Forced physical labor, starvation, and widespread disease were prevalent during Pot's reign, which only lasted 4 years. The Vietnamese invaded Cambodia in 1979 and forced Pot to retreat to Thailand along with his communist forces. Pot was never punished for his long list of crimes against his own people and managed to go out on his own terms. After that, we have the Sackler family. This might not be the most famous name in America, but they have faced a ton of controversy over the years. The Sackler family are the owners of Purdue Pharma, and they have been labeled as one of the main villains in the ongoing opioid crisis. The company was founded all the way back in 1892 and was eventually sold to the Sackler family, who helped turn it into an evil empire. The company has created highly addictive pain medicine over the years, which has led to millions of overdoses. It seems that the Sacklers were willingly making their medicine more addictive than others to create addicts who would fund their massive pharmaceutical company. This also released dangerous substances into neighborhoods, which are the cornerstones of violent gangs. This means that the opioid crisis has also branched out and created terrible crime wings who unwillingly helped the Sackler family. While Purdue eventually filed for bankruptcy in 2023, the Sackler family has been labeled as the most evil family in America. Up next, we have the Jim Jones family. Now, cults have a very bad reputation for pushing twisted ideologies, and this one was no different. The People's Church was founded in Indiana in 1955 by Jim Jones. He started to grow his following by advocating for civil rights and providing homes to help treat people with mental health issues. While the religious group seemingly started off with good intentions, things started to get a little strange when Jones ordered all of his followers to move to a compound in Redwood Valley, California. This was after he had read an article on the best places to survive a nuclear war. He then decided to move his group to a compound in Guyana that he called Jonestown, where some of his members started to leak information to the media. They stated that Jones was confiscating medicine from his followers, forcing them into hard physical labor, and declaring that every man had to be a homosexual. U.S. Congressman Leo Ryan, accompanied by members of the media, decided to visit Jonestown in November 1978, where they were ultimately eliminated by cultists. After this incident, Jones instructed all of his followers to drink cyanide, as it was apparently the only way to escape. More than 900 residents of Jonestown sadly passed away, bringing a tragic end to the cult. Next on our list is Shiro Ishii. This name might not be as polarizing as other figures from the Second World War, but he is by far one of the most evil people in history. Shiro Ishii was the commander of the infamous Unit 731 that was operated by the Japanese military. This was a secret government operation that looked to study the human body by putting it through some truly horrific experiments. Ishii was well educated in the world of medicine and used his expertise to create biological weapons that were mainly used against the Chinese people. Later reports also revealed that Ishii had a plan to release plague-infested fleas into the United States, but Japan surrendered before he could carry out this operation. Following the end of the war and the occupation of Japan, the Soviet army revealed that the details of Unit 731 were beyond horrific and Ishii needed to be prosecuted. However, the Americans managed to work out a deal with the Surgeon General to obtain all the information from his experiments in exchange for his freedom. Up next is Frank Morris and the Anglin brothers. It seems like these criminals were receiving justice in Alcatraz prison, prison, but they somehow managed to escape in 1962. Frank Morris and brothers John and Clarence Anglin were serial robbers who spent a lot of their lives going in and out of prison for various crimes. They were all sent to the Rock to serve time at the maximum security prison, but they worked together to devise one of the greatest escape plans of all time. They started off by making tunnels out of vents that were in their cells. They used old saw blades and metal spoons that they found around the prison to help dig the tunnels, and used pieces of cardboard to cover up their tracks. Once they had finally dug the hole to the point it reached a maintenance corridor, the trio placed papier-mâché heads in their beds to confuse guards. Morris created some DIY life preservers that he read about in Popular Mechanics, and the burglars set off into the waters, never to be seen again. Next on our list is the Kim family. North Korea has been the center of attention for a long time for all the wrong reasons. Following the end of the Korean War, North Korean chairman Kim Il-sung ushered in a reign of authoritarianism that oppressed his own people. There was widespread famine and concentration camps, and the idea of free speech was completely absent. However, the chairman painted himself as a godlike figure, and he is still worshipped by the citizens to this day. After his passing in 1994, his son Kim Jong-il took charge and carried on his father's dictator legacy. Kim Jong-il committed many of the same crimes as his father, and he even took things to the next level. One of his most infamous crimes involved the kidnapping of South Korean film director Shin Sang-ok and his wife. The director was forced to make movies for Kim in order to gain global recognition for North Korea's film industry. Kim Jong-il ultimately passed away in 2011 and was succeeded by his son Kim Jong-un, who is constantly threatening nuclear warfare and carrying on his ancestors' despicable legacy. After that, we have Josef Mengele. Nicknamed the Angel of Death, Mengele was a physician who served for the German military in the 1940s. Much like Shiro Ishii, he was responsible for conducting horrible experiments on innocent prisoners. He was part of a team of doctors who would hand-select people to be summoned to gas chambers and other terrible punishments. He would also use his knowledge in the medical field to conduct human mutation experiments on other prisoners who he deemed useless for forced physical labor. After the Second World War came to a close and concentration camps were thankfully shut down, the world became well aware of Mengele's terrible crimes. While he should have been tried for war crimes, Mengele managed to escape to South America, where he started a family and lived a free life. Despite West Germany and Israel requesting extradition of Mengele on numerous occasions, the Angel of Death was never punished for his terrible crimes. Up next is Jimmy Savile. Savile had an extremely successful career working for BBC Radio in the UK, and was regarded as a tremendous person for his philanthropic work while he was still alive. He was even knighted for his services to the United Kingdom in 1990 by Queen Elizabeth herself. However, it wasn't until after he had passed away that some haunting discoveries have been made about the radio and TV host. Hundreds of people had stepped forward and claimed that Savile was a dangerous predator who abused many people of all ages during his lifetime. The allegations ranged from all sorts of vile acts that the radio and TV personality had committed. Savile managed to keep these stories a secret for his whole life and escaped punishment. However, nowadays, there are many biographies and documentaries that have gone deep into the dark world of Savile's actions. Netflix even released a two-part documentary, Jimmy Savile, A British Horror Story, in 2022, revealing all the terrible crimes that he managed to get away with. And finally, we have the Benders. You might not be too familiar with the name of this family, but they wreaked havoc on the state of Kansas during the 1870s. The Benders had created a small cabin on the Great Osage Trail that served as a rest stop for hungry travelers. The people who chose to dine at the restaurant would receive a hearty meal, but unfortunately, it would usually be their last. As the story goes, the diners would have their backs turned to the family's private quarters, which were covered by thick curtains. One member of the Bender family would appear from behind the guest and hit them over the head with a sledgehammer. Now, the details after that are pretty scarce. It was likely the family would take any money and valuables that they could find off the unsuspecting guests and eventually dispose of their bodies. No one really knows how many people met their ultimate demise in this cabin, but locals were starting to become suspicious. The family mysteriously disappeared overnight, and no one knows what happened to them. And that concludes our look at the evil families in history who escaped justice. Let us know which one shocked you the most in the comments below, and be sure to hit like and subscribe for more videos.